So what should one make of the statement of the Bangladesh Army chief? How bad is the situation on ground? Has the deep state regime change operation led to radical Islamists now calling the shots in Dhaka? Joining me on India First is Ambassador Veena Sikri, India's former ambassador to Bangladesh, our former High Commissioner to Bangladesh. Tasmia Nuya Ahmed is a journalist who joins us from Dhaka, and Indrajit Kundu is editor, Kolkata Bureau of India Today, regularly in touch with friends in Bangladesh. Ambassador Sikri, you heard General Zaman saying enough is enough, stop this infighting. And this clearly is not a school teacher scolding students, especially when he brings in the issue of sovereignty and integrity and independence being at stake. What do you make of that statement, ma'am?
It is indeed a very strong statement by General Waker-Uz-Zaman, and perhaps the first of its kind, because if you remember 6 months ago, it was he who said that, now we are going to ask Muhammad Yunus to control the interim regime, and he said that he pledged full support to the interim regime of Professor Muhammad Yunus. But today, his message at the end of 6 months is a clear warning that he is not satisfied with the situation in Bangladesh, and the great focus that he has is on law and order, and the complete breakdown of law and order. He referred to infighting. We know that even though the students want to form their own political party, they are fighting among each other for various loaves of power, who's going to be number 2, 3, and 4. And we know also that even though the Jamaat-e-Islami is the controlling power in the administration, Professor Muhammad Yunus does not really have any kind of independence. He's just doing the bidding of the Islamist parties, and the interim regime, contrary to all mandated role of the caretaker government, the interim regime has Islamist parties as among the advisors. Hizb ut-Tahrir is there, Hifazat-e-Islam is there, and Islami Andolan Bangladesh is there. So it's a situation that is very, very uncomfortable. And we see that even the Jamaat-e-Islami and the BNP, which is the other main opposition party, they're also fighting among each other. They're fighting whether they're going to be together, they're going to be separate. So it's a complete chaos. In addition to all this, the law and order in terms of robberies, rapes, and killings across Bangladesh has worsened considerably. Attacks on minorities we know about is very, very serious and still continuing. And now we also have heard of an attack on the Air Force base, which is completely unprecedented. We also know that although the army has been given magistracy powers and police powers in Bangladesh, they are exercising it so far in a very light manner. They are not really going into it because they don't want to take action against the civilians. They are hoping that the police will do it. But with this warning...
Where is the police? There is no police. There were reports that seem to indicate that policemen were either very demoralized, they'd gone home, or they were in their police stations too scared to come out because radical Islamists were targeting even the police, Ambassador.
Yes. Absolutely. Not only radical Islamists, it's the same groups that we spoke about, the Jamaat-e-Islami and others, Islami Chhatra Shibir, they burnt 400 police thanas and looted the weapons and killed many policemen. There are even reports before the Yunus regime gagged the media. There are many reports in the Bangladesh media about the killings of policemen, 13 in one police thana and so on. So the police is completely demoralized. And I think what General Vakar-Zaman is saying, that if this does not remedy itself, then he's going to take full control. I think this is the first shot that he's fired across the bow, very worried indeed about the deteriorating situation, and saying that certainly if we do, the way in which the regime there is treating the Awami League as fascists, as an opposition, wanting to wipe them out, Operation Devil's Hunt, killing the Awami League in large numbers, and not allowing them to take part in the political process, clearly saying they should be banned, they should be killed, they should be removed from the scene. I mean, it's not the way...
Shots fired is what you say with the statement made by the Army Chief. Tasmia Ahmed, if we've been able to establish that audio link with you, how would you view the Army Chief's comments? How are they being viewed in Bangladesh? Is that a warning to the administration? Wake up, act, bring back law and order?
After the army took over the power after 5th of August, it was the target of Bangladesh Army. They took a very responsible role and they performed it very well, of course, and they should be appreciated for that. And they are continuing their commitment. They are deploying extra forces for keeping the law and order situation under control. but from our side, we need to cooperate as well. So that was a
Okay.
message to the country people. Like we need to have some patience. We need to understand that a country to move forward, it's very important that country is stable, peaceful, and everybody is equally cooperating to ensure
Okay.
that. So
But is the
that's what in ours, in my sense, that is what she is trying to say to the nation.
Okay. But is the country stable? Indrajit, if I could bring you in, what's the situation in Bangladesh? You're regularly in touch with people on all sides of the political spectrum, or has it taken a turn for the worse since the launch of Operation Devil's Hunt against troublemakers, or as the opposition says, against their cadre and leaders?
Well, Gaurav, I've been speaking to many people across the border in Bangladesh. And, there was one phrase that one journalist friend of mine from Dhaka used when I asked him, have the situation been brought under control? Who is at the helm right now? Because there have been questions raised about Muhammad Yunus's leadership. And the prompt answer was that it's anybody's guess. It's the ghost that's running the Bangladesh government. And that seems to be the reality on ground. You saw Nahid Islam, one of the principal advisors, and one of the prime students members who actually was at the forefront of the students' agitation. He has resigned. Now the students are going to announce their own political outfit, a party. However, they have not been able to come up with an idea of unification because there was a process going on to bring all stakeholders on board and to come up with some sort of a resolution, a national consensus. That wasn't there. The BNP, which is, of course, the other largest political party right now, in the absence of Awami League, they are also feeling the heat because they have been seeking elections as soon as possible. But the Muhammad Yunus administration has not been able to give a timeline as to what. And there seems to be some difference of opinion cropping up between the BNP and these students who are within the government. Law and order has seen massive deterioration on the ground. Even, within Dhaka, the capital, there are visuals that are coming out on social media where people are being, butchered, people are being attacked with machetes, there is robbery taking place. So all kinds of law and order issue. Just 2 days back, we've seen, miscreants toll painting security personnel outside an Air Force base in Cox's Bazar. Now imagine how bizarre that is. The attack, the Bangladesh, establishment came up with a statement saying that there was initially an attack on the Air Force base. Later on, they toned down the rhetoric. It was a clash between security personnel and locals in that area. And locals had then alleged that the security personnel was, handling the situation in a very high-handed fashion. There was, a land dispute. So this is the situation on the ground in Bangladesh. Too many stakeholders, everybody trying a shot at power. But Muhammad Yunus, who came there, who always had political aspirations, doesn't seem to be in control.
Yeah, it sounds extremely alarming, Ambassador Sikri, and especially, this Operation Devil's Hunt. It's being seen as a license to neutralize political opponents. Sheikh Hasina's supporters see it as a witch hunt to decimate any kind of opposition to radical Islamists. Sheikh Hasina, in her statement, of course, had very strong words for what's happening in Bangladesh. But is Professor Muhammad Yunus just the titular head? Is he like the Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last emperor, so to say?
Well, he is a titular head. He absolutely is either unable or unwilling to exercise any kind of control over the situation. And really, he seems to be more interested in creating this king's party of the students, And but I think one interesting point that comes out from General Waker-Zaman's statement, it points clearly at Muhammad Yunus. It says Dr. Yunus, instead of giving him his full title and so on. And it clearly tells him that you have not been able to solve the problem that we put you there to solve. Now, on the key issue of early elections, General Vakar-Zaman seems to have taken a stand on that because
by end of 2025.
at the behest of the Jamaat-e-Islami, has been busy delaying the election, saying reforms first, then elections. But we know that reforms is not the task of a interim regime. Reforms are the task of an elected parliament. So the BNP themselves have been putting pressure for early elections, and Muhammad Yunus is still delaying end of the year, next year. But General Wakar-Zaman has clearly come out in favor of early elections and said they must be held as soon as possible by the end of the year.
Okay.
I think that this question of forming a political party and people resigning from the advisors to the interim is really not somebody who's expressing dissatisfaction with the regime, but it's the attempt by the Jamaat-e-Islami to divvy up the power between their own party, Jamaat-e-Islami, and their youth wing, creating their own so-called students' party. These are not the students who were in the quota reform movement. These are not the regular university students who were there. These are all Islamist students. So it's a very, very dangerous indication of what is likely to happen if elections are held under this regime's, place in power.
And unfortunately, for people in Bangladesh, those who are victims of this violence, that is exactly what appears to be happening. But Tasmia Ahmed, can you explain to viewers in India what is this infighting that the army chief refers to? Are students who led the protests against Sheikh Hasina not on the same page as the political leaders who are calling the shots now in Bangladesh?
The situation is not something we want and not desirable. So that would actually, that is not also giving a good message to the world as well. As a country, as a nation, we should be united to ensure that our country is in peace and in a stable situation. That is the duty of every citizen. It's not only, it's not the responsibility of Bangladesh Army or any law enforcement agency. It's the responsibility of every citizen to ensure and perform their respective role to ensure the peace of the country. People should be at peace. The working class, they go for work, they come back home, so they don't want this mess in the every other day. They want their living should be secured. They want their employment, their jobs, that should be secured, and they want a peaceful life. They don't want these disputes. That's why, for the sake of nation, I think Army Chief made such comment.
Well, he's made a statement, but is he being heard? Is he completely in control? That's also a question which I'll put to Ambassador Sikri in just a moment. But Indrajit, to you quickly, the situation on ground, economy in tailspin, society in tatters, people not united. What's the buzz that you're picking up? Political opponents, are they able to even voice their opinion in Bangladesh? Because when Muhammad Yunus, the Nobel laureate, says everyone in Bangladesh has to peacefully coexist, is that actually happening on ground with this devil's hunt on and radical Islamists being accused of literally wiping out the opposition?
Well, with this Operation Devil's Hunt, it's clear, as the opposition is now stating that, it's basically a witch hunt against anybody who speaks up against the Muhammad Yunus administration, or for that matter, the students, because the students did form a crucial part of this government and the mandate. Now, as far as, the question that you have asked, the economy is in a tailspin right now. Inflation is very, very high. So cost of, essentials have also gone up, and that remains a moot concern. What has always happened in the past 6 months is that administrative incompetence, in order to curb that, the Bangladeshi administration, the regime, and most people involved in that regime has taken a very anti-India rhetoric. And that seems to be the common refrain on the ground, because they think if they can, somehow tilt that against India, somehow they will be able to manage that. But for how long? That is the question. Now that the army chief has come out and stated in no uncertain terms, an election will have to happen. Even the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, the second largest party, the BNP, they are being exasperated with the fact that Muhammad Yunus, all the students themselves, are not very keen on holding elections anytime soon.
In an interconnected world, can they continue to lie and, paint a target on India? Because now everyone sees what's happening on ground. But Ambassador Sikri, there were some reports that seem to indicate that when ISI officers visited Bangladesh, they went and met specific officers down the chain of command. Is there a message here? Is General Zaman completely in charge? Is he being sidelined, as some reports seem to indicate? And is he asserting his authority?
Well, for the first, it is true that what the Bangladesh regime has tried to do for the last 6 months is to revive their contacts with Pakistan in a very dramatic fashion. In fact, if you see what is happening in Bangladesh today is that the losing forces of the 1971 Liberation War are now in command. They think they are in command, and the Jamaat-e-Islami, which lost in 1971, has lost no time in inviting the Pakistan army, inviting the ISI chiefs. When they came to Bangladesh, they are still there in large measure. They are trying to influence what is happening in the Bangladesh army. This is not new. I have seen it in when I was there as High Commissioner and Begum Khalida Zia was the Prime Minister. Exactly the same thing was happening. Jamaat-e-Islami was in the government, and the two of them together, Jamaat-e-Islami and Pakistan Army and ISI, were trying to very much influence events within the army. It's happening this time as well, and there was a lot of talk of perhaps even a coup attempt within the army to replace General Vakar-Zaman. But the fact that General Vakar-Zaman has now given this very strong statement is, I think, a clear indication that he is fully in control, and that the ISI has not been able to have its way. In fact, it is so shocking to many people in Bangladesh that, out of the blue, you suddenly see ISI chief, ISI Director General being there and talking about, cooperation with Pakistan and Bangladesh armies, and the army going there and asking to buy the Thunderbird aircraft from Pakistan. It's really quite amazing as to how they're pretending that the Liberation War never took place at all. But I don't
and
think
direct trade between Pakistan and Bangladesh that wasn't there for decades is starting once again. But I want to understand from you, with the regime change in the United States of America, with Donald Trump at the helm, will the deep state still continue to protect the regime in Bangladesh, or has the regime change in America put a spoke in their works?
Well, I think that the regime change in America has definitely made a difference. I think when our Prime Minister was there, the talks between him and President Trump, and what President Trump actually said, that South Asia is really going to be what India is going to make of it. And I think all this is very clear. President Trump has promised to dismantle the deep state. That was his election manifesto. So I think clearly the USAID being dismantled is the first step in that direction. And I think that it is quite clear that the support, the feeling that you see in Bangladesh now after President Trump has taken over is very different, very uncertain, not sure. A lot of funding has stopped. A lot of the law and order is completely out of control. And this is something that nobody would have wished to see in Bangladesh, but it is happening like that, showing a complete anarchy. Even General Wakar-Zaman used the word anarchy, used the sentence enough is enough, as you are showing. So these very facts indicate that the earlier support that Bangladesh was expecting or was getting throughout the regime change operation and immediately after that has now changed. But how much General Wakar-Zaman is going to be able to assert himself, this is the thing that we have to watch upon now. I think there is a great need to have early, free and fair and inclusive elections, allow the Awami League to participate, and this regime certainly cannot conduct those elections because they have shown themselves to be a partisan, it's certainly not a non-party neutral regime, and as
That's
such,
a very, very interesting point to make there, Ambassador, and I will let that be the last word on this part of the show. For joining me, Ambassador Veena Sikri, Tashmia Ahmed and Indrajit Kundu, many thanks. We'll be tracking developments in Bangladesh and in the United States of America very, very closely, because we're seeing what Elon Musk with the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, what Kash Patel as Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence in the United States are doing under the leadership of Donald Trump. A quick break. Much more coming up on the other side of a quick break with Geeta Mohan on The World Today. Stay with us.